this live community group meditation guided reading session. If you're watching this after we've already been live, you can move to the 10-minute mark, which is when we will formally get started with our short meditation, and then we'll get into the reading. And you know, all of us love the readings, we love the content, right? But to really receive the teachings, to receive the wisdom of Buddhist teachers, Thich Nhat Hanh, we've got to kind of bring ourselves home. Bring our mind home to the body and to show up, to be here. And from that place of being, of settling, of bringing our commitment and our sincerity and tapping into our willingness to really be here, from that place we listen to that deep wisdom. And we are very blessed, very lucky today that Thich Nhat Hanh exists. And because of Thich Nhat Hanh's existence and the teachings that he has shared with the world, we are so fortunate that we're going to be listening to those teachings today. So we'll have a short meditation. We will read quite a bit of this book from Thich Nhat Hanh, The Sun, My Heart. And then we'll have a bit of a guided meditation practice together. And hopefully this will be a bastion, a place, a moment of inner consideration, peace, breathing, and listening to the wisdom of Thich Nhat Hanh. Hello to Wolfgang, great to see you here. Jacob, Felix, James, Catherine, Anna, Hoa Lu is here, what a treat. And Your Positive Mind Meditation is also here. Hi there, glad that you're here. So as everyone can see, we have reached the 3K subscriber mark. So soon, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be, but I'll be having kind of a 3-hour live meditation to celebrate, to express our appreciation, or my appreciation for the community. You know, we are growing and expanding, and that's so wonderful. There is a dog outside that's about the size of a horse. I don't know if I could get a hold of that dog, but I'm going to try. Let's see if we can make this happen. This is what monk life is all about, this dog. Unbelievable looking dog. Buongiorno. It's okay? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my. So big but a little scared. But the size of a horse. Yes, it is. So this is the temple. This is where our temple is located. This is the main city square in this small Italian village. And as you can see, this horse is here. Actually, there was a horse riding in the street earlier, but anyway, we're not going to be having a monk life vlog today. We are going to be reading from Thich Nhat Hanh, but here is where the temple is and the city square. It's very beautiful. And this dog especially is very, very special dog. My goodness. Wow. That's an Italian dog for you. Okay. And that's a big Catholic church over there. Anyone who's been hearing the bells recently, that's where those bells come from. They tell the time in that way. So we still have 5 minutes till we'll get started, so we can enjoy the temple area. outside. Of course, anyone in the monk life community is welcome to visit uh, Italy and stay here at our temple. We are going to meditate today. We just saw a horse dog that wanted to check out. Inside here is kind of a donation center, so people donate clothes and different things, and then it's just like a free store, so anyone can come by and pick up all kinds of clothes. And the beautiful city center. The dog is why we came out here, though. So anyway, we'll go back inside to the Buddha hall, the temple room, our meditation hall. So we will be practicing meditation today, but a guided reading, guided meditation. But nice to see that special dog and the local area as well. And if you can imagine how beautiful and special the world can be, special dogs, special places, the mind can be even more beautiful, more sweet, more interesting, and more full of joy. So that is why we practice. That is why we spend our time here, not to consume, not to get something, not to get rid of anything, but to really show up for our lives, to show up for the beauty of life, the peace of life, to awaken this heart of compassion and mindfulness within ourselves. Okay, hello to Fernando and Cindy and Free. Felix and Chesh and Anna are here. Wonderful. And Atlas is here as well. So we'll be getting started in just a moment. Hey there, Alex. Sebastian is here joining. So today I will be reading from my phone. I don't have a physical copy of this book, so you'll see me, well, maybe you'll see me holding my phone. Maybe it'll be just off camera. But I will be reading from my phone. I won't be texting or checking the news, but reading the Dharma and sharing it for our guided reading. So take a moment now to bring up into your mind the intention to meditate, the intention, the sincerity to show up, not for watching this stream, not even for listening to this talk, but to really show up to your life, the way that it is right now, to your body, to your breath, to your present. And make that resolution, that intention for the next hour or so, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more, to show up and be a part of this community, practicing together. To really make that commitment and that consideration, to do our best to be with the breath, to be in the present, to be attentive, to be sincere and open-minded, open-hearted at this moment. So, welcome everyone to this group practice, to the Monk Life Community daily group meditation and guided reading. So I think we had a bit of meditation, a bit of settling down just now. And so taking just a few deep breaths, you may have had a busy day, a tough day or an easy day. Maybe we were anxious or sleepy, but breathing in deeply and gathering up our attention, bringing our mind and our past and our future and the whole of our life, bringing it to the body, bringing it to this present moment, and considering, treating this moment, this opportunity to listen to the teachings of Thich Nhat and to practice as a treasure, not something to be taken lightly, but something to really value and appreciate. And doing so, doing that valuation with a sincere embodiment, a sincere being with the breath, being with the body, and listening deeply as we begin our reading of Thich Nhat Hanh's The Sun, My Heart. We'll start with the introduction. Meditators since the beginning of time have known that they must use their own eyes and language of their own times to express their insight. Wisdom is a living stream, not an icon to be preserved in a museum. Only when a practitioner finds the spring of wisdom in their own life can it flow to future generations. Keeping the torch of wisdom glowing is the work of all of us who know how to clear a path through the forest in order to walk on ahead. So we are here turning towards our own inner flame of wisdom, finding our own path. Our insight and our language are inseparable from the times in which we live. For many years now, the East has followed the West down the path of technological and material development, to the point of neglecting its own spiritual values. In our world, technology is the main force behind economics and politics. But those in the forefront of science have begun to see something similar to what the spiritual disciplines of the East discovered long ago. If we can survive our times, the gap that separates science and spirituality will close, and the East and West will meet one another on the path to discover true mind. Those in whom the seeds of this important endeavor have already been sown can start working towards that convergence right now, using their own daily mindful lives. This small book was written not to show off any knowledge of the author. In fact, there is not much for him to show off. It prefers to be a friend rather than a book. You can take it with you on the bus or subway, as you do your coat or your scarf. It can give you small moments of joy at any time. You may like to read a few lines, then close it and put it back in your pocket, and read another few lines sometime later. If you find a paragraph that is difficult or complicated, just skip over it and try the next one. You can return to it later, and maybe you will find that it is not so complicated after all. Chapter 5, which is the last one, is quite pleasant to read. You can start there if you like. Please draw on your own experience to understand this book. Do not be intimidated by any of the words or ideas. Only as author of the text yourself will you find the joy and the strength necessary to journey from mindfulness to insight. So, Thich Nhat has given us some instruction here. This is our text. We are the author. And only as the author of the text ourselves will we find the joy and strength necessary to journey from mindfulness, from awareness, from attentiveness, from presence, to insight into the nature of our suffering, insight into the nature of our peace. Thich Nhat also encourages us to start at chapter 5, so I think that is exactly what we will do. Pull up chapter 5 here. Aha, we found it. So, chapter 5, look deeply at your hand. Happiness arises from awareness of being. So the chapter is titled, Look Deeply at Your Hand. And this paragraph or this initial teaching is titled, Happiness arises from awareness of being. The sky was clear and it was quite warm this morning. Little Toy left for school after eating the fried rice I made for her, and I went into the garden to transplant some lettuce. When I came in to wash my hands, I saw that my guest was already awake and washing his face. I boiled water and made a pot of tea. With 2 cups on the table in the courtyard, I sat and waited for him to come outside. We drank tea in the warm sunshine. My friend asked me, how can we see the results of meditation? And I told him that peace and happiness are the guides for measuring the fruit of practice. If we do not become calmer and happier, something is wrong with our practice. Sometimes people say that without a teacher, meditation can cause confusion and imbalance. But it is not always possible to find a highly developed teacher. Such people are rare. Although it is often possible to find teachers who have not yet fully realized the way. If you are not able to study with a realized teacher, the most intelligent way to practice is to rely primarily on the teacher in yourself. Proceed slowly and carefully. So in our meditation, proceeding slowly and carefully. For example, it is not necessary to practice the 4 formless meditations. Never force your body or your mind. Be kind to yourself. Live your daily life simply with awareness. If you are mindful, you have everything. You are everything. Please have a look at the miracle of mindfulness and the sutra on the full awareness of breathing. And we can take a moment to consider, we're not going to read those texts right now, but the miracle of mindfulness, the miracle of tuning in to our present moment reality, not the thoughts and the stories and the muddiness and the fog in our lives, but tuning into seeing itself, hearing itself, being itself. This miracle of mindfulness, of letting go of our stories, our attachments, our fears, our desires, and this miracle of totally stepping into this moment, this present. How rich, how vivid, how fertile. And the sutra on the full awareness of breathing. So this practice of meditation, this method of putting our full awareness, our total consideration on breathing. This breath that moment to moment keeps us alive. If even for a few moments we don't breathe, we're almost in a state of panic, confusion, struggle. So this full and total awareness of our breathing as it comes in and goes out. It's a very powerful practice of finding peace and joy and happiness in ourselves. This full awareness of breathing. These texts and these teachings are filled with practical suggestions concerning the practice. Reading books with practical suggestions are useful not just before practicing sitting meditation, but any time. A minute of meditation is a minute of peace and happiness. If meditation is not pleasant for you, you are not practicing correctly. Meditation brings happiness. This happiness comes first of all from the fact that you are master of yourself, no longer caught up in forgetfulness. If you follow your breathing and allow a half smile to blossom, mindful of your feelings and thoughts, the movements of your body will naturally become more gentle and relaxed. Harmony will be there, and true happiness will arise. Keeping our mind present in each moment is the foundation of meditation practice. When we achieve this, we live our lives fully and deeply, seeing things that others, in forgetfulness, do not. So I'll read this last part again, and after the instruction, after the encouragement, we can kind of be with that and practice in that way as Thich Nhat encourages for a few moments. Meditation brings happiness. This happiness comes, first of all, from the fact that you are master of yourself, no longer caught up in forgetfulness. If you follow your breathing and allow a half smile to blossom, mindful of your feelings and thoughts, the movements of your body will naturally become more gentle and relaxed. Harmony will be there, and true happiness will arise. Keeping our mind present in each moment is the foundation of meditation practice. So following our breathing and allowing a half smile to come across our face. mindful of the feelings of the body and our thoughts. When we achieve this, we live our lives fully and deeply, seeing things that others in forgetfulness do not. So meditation is this practice of constant mindfulness, constant turning towards peace instead of friction, constant remembering of our true nature. When we achieve and when we practice like this, we live our lives fully and deeply, seeing things that others, caught up in forgetfulness, do not. So providing conditions conducive to living in mindfulness. In the miracle of mindfulness, I proposed more than 30 exercises of mindfulness, including a suggestion for how to arrange one day of mindfulness each week. If you read it, you will see clear instructions. This book has been translated into 35 languages. It is a small book, but it is very practical and easy to read. In fact, I still follow its instruction myself. You can read it many times because each time you read it, you will have a chance to examine your own practice and from your own experience discover things not in the book. More than 10 years have passed since it was published, and I still receive many letters from readers all over the world expressing their gratitude, telling how this book has brought great changes in their lives. A surgeon in New York told me that he always maintains mindfulness while performing operations. I think to myself that this surgeon will never forget his surgical instruments in his patients' bodies. The first few months of your practice may lack continuity, since it is natural to forget to practice mindfulness sometimes. But you can always start again. If you have a practicing companion, you are very lucky. So I am very lucky, the Monk Life community is very lucky, as we do have practicing companions. We are making the determination to practice together and to support one another in practice. Friends who practice together often remind each other to practice mindfulness, and they can share experiences and progress. Mindfulness can be nurtured in you by many different means. An autumn leaf that you pick up in your backyard can be taped to your bathroom mirror. And every morning when you see it, the leaf will remind you to smile and return to mindfulness. A bell from a nearby church or clock tower, or even the telephone, can also bring you back to mindfulness. I recommend you let the phone ring 2 or 3 times before answering, while you breathe in and out and take the time to return to your true self. Anyone have any thoughts to share about the reading so far? Any comments or considerations to offer in the live chat? For me, I really like this idea of anything can be a reminder, an invitation to become mindful, to become present, to really be there in the moment. Whether it's someone calling you, whether it's an autumn leaf that you tape to your mirror, whether it's the sound of a church bell, but just about anything can become this reminder for mindfulness, for coming back, for starting again. There's also this very real consideration that at the beginning, the first few months in our practice, for some of us, maybe it's longer or shorter, but there can be issues in continuity. So we get into mindfulness for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we maintain this practice of meditation, and then we find that we fall away from it. We don't come back to meditation or to mindfulness, but we can always start again. We can always begin again. And actually, I would say that that's exactly what we do in meditation. It's not that we're having this perfect continuity of deep, special experience in meditation, although it may be that, but rather that we are coming back again and again and again to the present, to this present moment mindfulness, this present moment awareness nature, returning to again and again. My love, who are you? Someday, if you need a topic for meditation, choose one that you care about, one that you find very interesting, so that it will command your attention. It can be the sun, a caterpillar, a dewdrop, time, your face and your eyes before you were born. Every phenomenon, concrete or abstract, physical, physiological, psychological, or metaphysical, can be the subject of your meditation. After you choose a topic, plant it in the depths of your spiritual life. An egg needs to be incubated by its mother hen in order to become a baby chick. In the same way, the topic you sow must be nurtured. Yourself, or the self of the person you like the most, or the self of the person you hate the most, can be the subject of your practice. Any subject can bring about awakening if it is sown deeply into the ground of your being. But if it is only entrusted to your intellect, it is unlikely to bear fruit. So in meditation, we are bringing up these topics or these considerations of mindfulness, of our breath, of our body, of compassion, of patience, not as a foray into the intellect of ethics or the intellect of being woke or enlightened, but we are bringing these subjects, these points of our focus, to the very nature of our being, the very heart of our experience. In meditation, we are turning towards something that's far beyond, far deeper than the intellect, far deeper than something we believe in or something that we think. We are tuning into the very core of our being. And so, in that sense, any subject can bring about awakening. Any subject can bring about this deepening of our awareness, of our compassion. But if it is only entrusted to our intellect, it is unlikely to bear fruit. It can bring about awakening if it is sown deeply into the ground of your being. Have you meditated on the subject, who am I? Who were you before you were born? At the time when there was not the slightest trace of your physical existence, did you exist or not? How can you become something from nothing? If on the day I was conceived by my parents, if on the day I was conceived, my parents had other appointments and were not able to see each other, then who am I now? If that day the egg of my mother was not penetrated by that sperm of my father, but by another sperm of his, then who am I now? Would I be a brother or a sister of mine? If that day my mother did not marry my father, or my father did not marry my mother, but married someone else, then who am I today? It's not some answer that we come up with. It's not some story. It's not some belief. It is to question and to bring this question to the very core of our being. If that day my mother did not marry my father, or my father did not marry my mother, but married someone else, then who am I today? Each healthy living cell in your body controls its own activity. But does this mean that each cell has its own self? In the biological classification system, species make up smaller subdivisions of genus. Does each species represent a self? If such questions are asked with your deepest conviction and intelligence, and if you plant them deeply into your spiritual life with your whole being, one day an unexpected discovery will arise. Have you ever looked deeply into the eyes of your loved one and asked deeply, "Who are you, my love?" For either of you to answer, you cannot be satisfied by the usual responses. My love, who are you, who comes to me and takes my suffering as your suffering, my happiness as your happiness, my life and death as your life and death? Who are you, whose self has become my self? My love, why aren't you a dewdrop, a butterfly, a bird, a pine tree? Don't be satisfied with mere poetic images. You must ask and answer these questions with your whole mind and heart, with your whole being. Someday, you will even have to ask the person you hate the most in this same way. Who are you who brings me such pain? Who makes me feel so much anger and hatred? Are you part of the chain of cause and effect? The fire which forges me on the path? In other words, are you me, myself? You have to become that person. You have to be one with him or her or them. To worry about what they worry about. To suffer their suffering. To appreciate what they appreciate. That person and you cannot be two. Yourself cannot be separate from their self. You are that person, the same as you are your love, and the same as you are yourself. Continue practicing until you see yourself in the most cruel and inhumane political leader, in the most devastatingly tortured prisoner, in the wealthiest man and in the child starving, all skin and bones. Practice until you recognize your presence in everyone else on the bus, in the subway, in the concentration camp, working in the fields, in a leaf, in a caterpillar, in a dewdrop, in a ray of sunshine. Meditate until you see yourself in a speck of dust and in the most distant galaxy. These are not lofty encouragements or interpretations. These are encouragements to practice and to look and to engage until you see at the very core of your being all beings, until you see in all beings the very core of your being. This heart, this body, all hearts, all bodies. The sun, the dust, the person you hate and the person you love are in no way separate from you, not poetically, but literally. And it's not a matter of believing in this, it's a matter of practicing and looking and engaging in our life. To tap into the very core of our being, where this innate compassion and wisdom live and shine. As you continue practicing, the flower of insight, the flower of wisdom will blossom in you, along with the flowers of compassion, tolerance, happiness, and letting go. You can let go because you do not need to keep anything for yourself. You are no longer a fragile and small self that needs to be preserved by all possible means. Since the happiness of others is also your happiness, you are now filled with joy, and you have no jealousy or selfishness. Free from attachment to wrong views and prejudices, you are filled with tolerance. The door of your compassion is wide open, and you also suffer the sufferings of all living beings. As a result, you do whatever you do to relieve these sufferings. These four virtues are called the four immeasurables: loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and non-attachment. They are the fruits of meditation on the principle of the interdependent co-arising of things, this condition, this state of interbeing. Everything is arising in connection with everything else. There is literally no separation. And the deeper you look, the closer you get to your living, beating heart, the more clearly you experience that there is no separation. There is no distinction between you and someone else's suffering, or your joy and the joy of someone else. The development of these four immeasurables of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and non-attachment in you shows that you are proceeding in the right direction and are also capable of guiding others in their practice. Where are you now, my good friend? Here in our meditation practice, we are learning to show up in this way. Where are you right now, my good friend? To say it to our heart, to say it to our body, to say it to our happiness, to say it to our suffering. Where are you right now, my good friend? To those we hate, to those we love, to those we barely know, cultivating our mind and our heart in this way, to be able to truly say to ourselves when we're caught up in suffering and confusion and drama, to say to ourselves with power, heart, compassion, and sincerity, where are you now, my good friend? Are you out in the field, in the forest, on the mountain? Are you in a military camp, in a factory, at your desk, in a hospital, in a prison? Regardless of where you are, let us breathe in and out together, and let the sun of awareness enter. Let us begin with this breath and this awareness. Whether life is an illusion, a dream, or a wondrous reality, depends on our insight and our mindfulness, our attentiveness to life. Awakening is a miracle. The darkness in a totally dark room will disappear the moment the light is switched on. In the same way, life will reveal itself as a miraculous reality the second the sun of awareness begins to shine. This breath and this awareness, moment to moment. Let us begin with this breath and this awareness. The darkness in a totally dark room will disappear the moment the light is switched on. In the same way, life will reveal itself as a miraculous reality the very second the sun of awareness begins to shine. I have a poet friend who was put into a re-education camp in Vietnam, in a remote jungle area. During his 4 years there, he practiced meditation and was able to live in peace. Upon release, he was lucid, like a sharp sword. He knew that he had not lost anything during those 4 years. On the contrary, he knew he had re-educated himself in meditation. As I write these lines, I am writing a love letter. I hope that these words will be read by you, my known and unknown family, my known and unknown brothers and sisters, who are living in circumstances regarded as hopeless and tragic, that you may renew your energies and courage. If you want peace, peace is with you immediately. 15 years ago, I wrote 4 Chinese characters on a paper lampshade. These 4 characters can be translated as, if you want peace, peace is with you immediately. A few years later in Singapore, I had the chance to practice these words. Several of us organized a program to help the Indo-Chinese refugees in the Gulf of Siam. The program was called Mei Shu Rot Mem. When the blood is shed, we all suffer. At that time, the world did not know about the boat people, and the governments of Thailand, Malaysia, and Singapore would not allow them to land. So we hired 2 large ships, the Liap Dal and the Roland, to pick up refugees on the open sea, and 2 small ships, the Saigon 200 and the Black Mark, to communicate between them and to transport food and supplies. We planned to fill the 2 large ships with refugees and take them to Australia and Guam. We had to do our work secretly, since the situation of the boat people was something most of the world's government did not want to acknowledge at that time. And we knew they would give us a hard time if they found out. Unfortunately, after nearly 800 refugees had been rescued from small boats at sea, the government of Singapore discovered our program. At 2 a.m. one morning, the Singapore police were ordered to surround the house where I was staying. One officer blocked the front and another the back, while 4 others rushed in and confiscated my travel documents. They ordered me to leave the country within 24 hours. With 800 people aboard our 2 large ships, we had to find a way for them to travel safely to Australia or Guam. The Saigon 200 and the Black Mark were not allowed to leave port to take food and water to the refugees on the Liap Dal and the Roland. The Roland had enough fuel to reach Australia if we could get food to them. Then its engine broke down. The day was very windy and the sea quite rough. and we worried about the ship's safety, even drifting offshore. But the Malaysian government would not allow it to enter Malaysian water. I tried to get permission to enter a neighboring country to continue the rescue operation. But the governments of Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia would not grant me an entry visa. Even though I was on land, I found myself drifting on the sea, and my life was one with the lives of the 800 refugees on board. Maybe in a sense we can also feel ourselves on that ship. In that situation, I decided that I must practice the meditation topic. If you want peace, peace is with you immediately. And I was surprised to find myself quite calm, not afraid or worried about anything. I was not just careless. This was truly a peaceful state of mind. And in that state of mind, I was able to overcome this difficult situation. As long as I live, I will never forget those seconds of sitting meditation, those breaths, those mindful footsteps during that 24-hour period. There were more problems than it seemed possible to solve in just 24 hours. Even in a whole lifetime, many of us complain that there is not enough time. How could so much be done in a mere 24 hours? Success came when I faced the problem directly. I vowed that if I could not have peace at that moment, I would never be able to have peace. If I could not be peaceful in the midst of danger, then the kind of peace I might have in simpler times would not mean anything. Without finding peace in the midst of difficulty, I would never know real peace. Practicing this topic, if you want peace, peace is with you immediately. I was able to resolve many problems, one after another, when that was what was needed. So it's very clear. There's no confusion. There's no difficulty. There's no struggle. There's nothing to figure out. If you want peace, peace is with you immediately. So we are take that step now, together, here, wherever you are, whatever difficulty that you're going through. At this moment, if you want peace, then peace is possible. So allow us together to practice this meditation, not to wait for simpler times, not to wait for pleasure and ease and convenience, but to really take advantage, to really step into our lives right here and right now. So take a moment to make sure that you're comfortable, to make sure that your body is in a convenient position. Hearing sounds, having a body. There may be difficulty, there may be struggle, but right now, if you want peace, peace is with you immediately. So let's practice that together. I won't give any guidance, but beginning and ending with the sound of the bell, practicing wholeheartedly. If you want peace, peace is with you immediately. Beginning and ending with the sound of the bell. And if you're confused about what to do, breathe and be at peace. enjoy this life, this moment, and find peace in the midst of difficulty. As Thich Nhat says, if you want peace, peace is with you immediately. This breath, this awareness. If you want peace, peace is with you immediately. Thank you, everyone, very much for joining together for this about 1 hour group practice. Let's keep up with it. Let's try to practice every day. Let's try to embody, to realize every day. If you want peace, peace is with you immediately. It's not to make this a one-off experience, but to make this a habit, to make this a way of living that we integrate into our life more and more. And that is exactly what this channel, this community is here for, to support that. All right? So take care, everyone. Enjoy, be happy, have a sense of peace with the rest of your day, your evening, whatever it is. Be gentle with yourself, be patient. Let's try to make this a habit. Let's try to make it something that we work with more and more and more. If you want peace, peace is with you immediately. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. See you tomorrow about this time, I think so. And take care of yourselves and be well.